Now, I could see the review for this book as possibly being divisive. I think there'll be people who will love it. There'll be people who eat it up. They'll say, I need more. If there was a YouTube video series on the information found in this book, I think it could be getting hundreds of thousands of views. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of people in the church who will hear the information in this book and find it to be ridiculous, preposterous, outrageous. How could the author even suggest such a thing? He is attacking things that had literally been set in stone for hundreds of years. Well, maybe Jon Lambert's right. Maybe he knows where the lost tribes of Israel truly are. And maybe we lost the location of the temple, and he's pointing us back to the right location of Herod's temple. Is he right? I have no idea. But it was intriguing to read. He makes compelling arguments throughout. His research is thoroughly documented. Has Jon Lambert found the temple and the lost tribes of Israel? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Rev Reads, your home for book reviews from the perspective of a pastor. If you're new to the channel and want to discover more shocking and controversial books, please subscribe to the channel in order to stay up to date with the most current reviews. And if you're a regular to Rev Reads, please like this video, share it with other people so that they can learn about the work of Jon Lambert on the location of Herod's temple, as well as the lost tribes of Israel. Now, the Temple and the Lost Tribes of Israel covers two separate issues. And with the book coming in at under 300 pages, I don't think it's terrible that they're put into one book, but they are kind of unrelated questions. I think the only thing that draws them together is that from Lambert's perspective, they were both lost. The first question is, can we locate the lost tribes of Israel? The tribes who were sent into exile by the Assyrian Empire. Now, after some interesting history on Christopher Columbus, maybe the most interesting part of the whole book was learning why Columbus came to travel to the New World and how that relates to the lost tribes of Israel. And also, why the Mormons, with their view that the Native Americans are the lost tribes of Israel. While that view is absurd today, it was more pop culture Christianity at the founding of Mormonism. So there's a lot of kind of odd yet interesting facts on the history of people's beliefs regarding the lost tribes of Israel found in this book. But Lambert makes a case that, one, the lost tribes of Israel must be restored in the end days for the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And I am totally on board with that point. And number two, the lost tribes of Israel are the Pashtun tribes of Afghanistan. He makes a pretty compelling case based on their location, customs, and the traditions that Israel just simply moved north to Afghanistan at their exile, and they've been hanging out there for over 2,000 years. Now, is he correct? I don't know. But it would not be surprising to me in the least if when Jesus returns and establishes his kingdom on earth, if we aren't all discussing how Israel was just a short distance to the north, hanging out at the place where they were first exiled and waiting for the Messiah all those years. I thought it was humorous how Lambert said they all believe they are descendants of King Saul. That is the Pashtun tribe in Afghanistan. And one, it's humorous that they believe that because I know my genealogy back to England and all the way back to the time of the Reformation in England. And I think it's amazing I can go back that far. But that's nothing if the Pashtun tribe can go all the way back to Saul. That's kind of nuts. And Lambert makes the point, well, they can't all be related to Saul, but after reading The Genealogical Adam and Eve by Swami Das and the genealogical science that's present in this book, the chances are, if those Pashtuns really are Israelites, then they are most certainly all descendants of Saul at this point in history. It could actually be at the return of Christ that all Jews are descended from David and all Israelites are descended from Saul. Now, the majority of the book looked not at the Israelites, but the location of the temple. Jon Lambert does not believe the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem is part of Herod's temple. That is the temple of the time of Jesus Christ. After his own research, he came to an Indiana Jones type epiphany.
You said their headpiece only had markings on one side. You absolutely sure?
Belloc staff is too long.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Now, Lambert makes a strong case that the Wailing Wall is actually the wall of an ancient Roman fort. I tracked with him well in that argument, and I thought he made a good presentation. One thing I should also admit is that I'm kind of a skeptic when it comes to any biblical locations in Israel. I don't have a lot of confidence that Jesus was buried in the tomb of the Holy Sepulchre, or the Via Dolorosa was where Jesus carried his cross. You could say the only location I am confident in as regards to Jerusalem is Hezekiah's tunnel. So I'm ready to hear arguments that the Wailing Wall isn't the wall of Herod's temple. I have no problem with that. And I do think he makes sense that what we think was the temple was actually a wall of a Roman fort. And that therefore means the Dome of the Rock isn't in any way on the ground where the temple was located. Now, is Lambert correct? I don't know, but it was kind of interesting to read about. It was interesting until he got to the section on where he believes the temple is really located. His theory was based on some complicated stuff. He based it on Nehemiah's walk around Jerusalem in the book of Nehemiah and maps from the 1890s in order to make his point, and if I'm honest, most of it went right over my head. You see, ever since I started to lose my hair and my head became a little bit more smooth, it's relatively easy for things to go right over my head. I have no idea what he was describing at times. I couldn't tell by the reading where he placed his temple, so I asked for an image of his theory. And he sent me this picture. So the temple, according to Lambert, is located outside the current walls of Jerusalem today. Here is a picture of the location from the Mount of Olives. And if that seems highly unlikely to you, that the temple would be outside of the current walls, one thing to remember is that the City of David Museum, which might be the best place in all of Jerusalem to visit in order to see some genuine ancient history, that City of David Museum with the entrance to Hezekiah's tunnel is also outside the current walls of Jerusalem, and really close to Lambert's suggested location for the temple. Now, if you're someone who's really into biblical archaeology and discerning where locations are in the Promised Land, you might devour this book. And his discussions on where the temple might have been located could be your dream bedtime read. But the section on how to find the site of the temple today, that just went right beyond me. Now, Lambert presents an interesting theory, and obviously, if Lambert is right, there would be far fewer obstacles in building a new temple today. I did like how the book concluded on the importance of rebuilding the temple. I do believe he is correct on that point. Biblical prophecy requires a temple in Jerusalem. One must be built, and I also liked how it allowed him to put his readers, if they accept his view, he allowed the reader to put their new view into action if they find that they support him. Now, I'm not 100% behind his location for the temple. Like I said, I'm kind of a skeptic about things like that. But he does make some very good arguments that the current spot of the temple is incorrect. The Temple and the Lost Tribes of Israel. This is one of the books that fall under the category of, I would never read this book if it were not for this YouTube channel. Because I'm not overly concerned with pinpointing archaeological locations, but it was interesting to read nonetheless. And if you really like that topic, if you're really into biblical archaeology and the location of the temple and the lost tribes of Israel, this might just be the ideal book for you.